Hi. Hi. Okay, great. You can hear me, hopefully. Sound good? Well, welcome. Thanks for coming in. We're talking about designing for the future today, and I'm really jazzed about it. I'm going to walk through a few slides, but then we're going to have some fun and really focus on a prototype. So I won't PowerPoint you to death. By now, everybody here is probably an expert on the AI and knowledge platform, right? All the sessions you've gone to, the keynotes, hopefully you're fully aware of what we're doing in the knowledge platform space. It is so critical that user experience leads the way here, that we work backwards from use case, work backwards from the customer, and that's how we think about designing for the future. If you ever get into a conversation with me one-on-one, we'll talk a lot about jobs to be done. That's kind of my mental model and framework for how we design user experience, and the more I can hear about what jobs you do, the better our user experience will be. And when we think about AI outcomes, when we think about compute engines, when we think about knowledge, it's only going to be as good as the user experience is, and that's the mindset that we embody every day. Now, data platforms are difficult. They're hard, just in general. But when you have so many places to do things, it can be really overwhelming to the user. A different tool for queries, a different tool for all of the actions that you need to take. And friends, this is Teradata's UI. These are all of our UIs that we've given our customers. So we're keeping it 100 today, that this is not what user experience should be about. And we know the results: slowed insights, wasted time, frustrated users. User experience has kept you from easily unleashing the power of the Teradata platform, and we take that very seriously. And imagine a different world. So you saw this in the keynote. We're doubling down. This is the home of Teradata moving forward. So that UI sprawl, one by one, will disappear over and over as we invest more in the jobs to be done framework, in our agentic AI UX, AI-led UX. And we're really excited about that. We're moving into this new era where your experience is literally driving our roadmap. And what do I mean by that? We've heard you. So again, we're keeping it real today. We know that there are platform setup issues. We know that one of our powers is customization and granular control. And we've not made that very friendly, not made it very easy. We have terms here: dated, complex, legacy. None of those I love, and all of those I look to shed, and the team mindset behind our user experience is to shed that. But this is your voice. You're the customer voice, and we take it very, very seriously. Also, we know how important it is that we're part of your ecosystem. So you've seen a lot about user interface, and I want to be really, really direct that we know the difference between user interface and user experience. And we are still completely committed to an ecosystem, building your ecosystem across what makes you fast, what makes you efficient, what gets the job done, whether it's in Teradata, on Teradata, or with Teradata. So make no mistake, what we talk about today is the first step of user experience. We're going to go through a prototype. Hopefully you'll see a lot of that ecosystem conversation. We got to have a product home, but we're still committed to the ecosystem. So let's talk about how we're doing that. So we have 4 pillars in how we think about user experience: natural language processing, persona-based design, autonomous intelligence, and frictionless experience. So walking through each one, natural language processing is all about making the platform more conversational. You're going to see that in real time today, and that's about reaching all kinds of personas. An AI-driven natural language processing and querying is going to make it possible for the user to say things like, show me revenue trends for Q3 by region. That AI-enhanced automation is about going beyond answering. Think guided walkthroughs. Think about contextual help, nudging the user, being proactive. So it's not just about the conversation, it's also about the proactivity of the user experience and knowing the person's context and what they're here to do and getting them to value faster. And then agent-based onboarding and home pages. So when you log in, the system understands your intent. It will reduce the learning of a new UI, and that's really critical for us. We don't want people to have what I call a PhD in Teradata in order to use the system. Second, persona-based. So I'm going to talk about this in several ways. We're going to go deep into global identity, but when we talk about persona-based, it is rooted in having that one single profile across all of our services that we offer. We are keeping it real. We know we have lots of identity frameworks. We know that there's ways to log into different tools that require maybe a different password. We know that we've put that burden on the administrative user. And so when we talk about persona-based, we're talking about changing that. Role-based user experience is then the next level. So how do you apply global identity? You have default roles, default ways to get into the system. We're experts on our system. We're experts on our data platform and how to use it. So we can automatically put those roles together, and then you're just off and running day one. Also, customized roles. So we also know that your business is very unique, and so having that granular control isn't going away. So starting with defaults, having customized roles, that's all rooted in persona-based. And then finally, home pages, task cards, context awareness. So when you get into the landing page, we've done a really simple version of it today, but over time, we're going to know if you're a data scientist and the workflow that you should go through. Just set your intent, and then the system will guide you through getting step 1, step 2, step 3 done. Which leads to autonomous. Autonomous UX is our third pillar, and this is where the platform shifts from being reactive to proactive. So this is about reasoning engine. The system is designed to act, decide, behave as you would. Faster, easier, simpler. And then productivity features like smart animation, pre-built workflows, predictive actions, all of those are really built on our agent. Hopefully you guys saw Agent Builder, so you can see behind the covers of what we're building and how we're building it. This is how it's going to show up in the UX autonomously. And then finally, and before I leave this, feedback loops. Part of why we wanted to have a session today is to hear from you. So we want to hear from you anecdotally. We also want to hear quantitatively. So behavioral workflows is part of our UX. Understanding the context, what people ask, why they ask it, what their time to value is, putting that in an anonymized data set so that we can increase the effectiveness of our UX through data, through behavioral understanding. And then finally, a frictionless experience. So hopefully the first 3 pillars have kind of made this obvious, but when we talk about zero friction interoperability, it's that ecosystem play. So global identity, role-based access control, being able to have autonomous agents, and all of that works seamlessly. We're going to talk a little bit about how we make sure to have transparency and control, because that's equally important, but particularly for the business users, making sure that it's just seamless. We also see this as the path to try before you buy. One of the things that we want to do is get people into betas, get people using things that we're experimenting with faster. All of this is going to unlock that for us and for you. So when you put these 4 pillars together, they create more than an interface. It's really an environment where every interaction is faster, seamless, and more human. And it doesn't just reduce complexity, it's going to drive adoption. Adoption for you, clarity and insight and value for your business. And that's the promise of this unified user experience, and it's the future of what we're building. So I am about to introduce, let's see. I think I might be out of order. Sorry, friends. Okay, well, I'm just going to let it be. I'm about to introduce a colleague to the stage who's going to help me walk through the prototype. But first, in the keynote today and yesterday, you probably saw a little friend named Terry. So our AI assistant is affectionately named Terry for possible. We are doing a crowdsourced survey for our internal crew. So anyone here at Teradata, if you have an idea for a name, submit the name. Customers, if you want to submit a name to Josh or myself. But Terry is going to be your AI assistant friend who you're going to be talking to. We saw, hopefully in my keynote, you saw asking about data. In semantic mapping, you saw asking about insight. And in compute engine, we spun up a compute engine and we shut it down by talking with Terry. So with Terry, I'd also like to invite Josh to come up to the stage, my second colleague here. Josh is the head of our platform UX, and together we're going to take you on a journey through the prototype. If you can switch over to the prototype, that'd be great. There's Terry. All right.
All right.
So what we're going to do is when someone gets started on our platform, the needs depend on their role. So the first thing we're going to do is walk you through 3 personas: a data scientist, a data engineer, and a business analyst. So this is where global identity is the backbone. So I kind of already alluded to that. Let's see how Terry is going to onboard as a data scientist. So this is all about onboarding.
So we'll just use a suggested prompt here. What you see on this screen is a very shorthand, but it kind of expands as you click on it. So we'll just go ahead and run this, and hopefully the internet is happy with us today.
Little jump.
And as this is working, as Jillian mentioned, this is all built through the agent builder. So if you went to the workshop, same concepts here. Some prompt engineering to kind of give the agent some context. So if you are interested in what that might look like, we can certainly look at it at the booth.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about how it's built. But here, so it's giving the user sample data sets to start their exploration.
Yep, so what you're seeing here is basically some very basic SQL to kind of get the data scientist or whoever is coming in, because oftentimes you'll have a data scientist that might play a data engineer as an example. So basically just some really good get started guides as you kind of roll through it. What we also put into place is how do we connect that chat experience to, say, a project or a data project, and we'll look at that here in another scenario.
Yeah, so before we go to the next scenario, if you can put this into a project, we want to show you our native notebooks. So part of the experience is a native notebook experience where you can go direct from chat and just grab one of those SQL. We're going to just play around with it, have a little bit of fun, and see how it goes. If you can grab that and put it into a project.
Oh, sure.
So now, to orient you, you've got Terry on the side. You can keep chatting. Your chat stays with you. You can keep asking questions, and then it will start to load into the project.
We should run this.
Go for it.
All right.
Let's run.
So here
you cross your fingers.
So we can just see the list of databases. For somebody new coming into the platform, it's probably one of the first things they'll want to do is see what databases they have access to, that sort of thing.
Now, we are just talking about onboarding in these 3 scenarios. So what we're going to do is just imagine a world that the data scientist has gone through, or the data scientist, has gone through their process, and they've come up with a data set that now they need to productionalize. And so we're going to pivot back to the beginning, and we're going to onboard as a data engineer. As a data engineer, I want to understand how to connect and manage my pipelines. Let's talk about pipeline orchestration.
So here, a very similar concept. In this case, Terry's pivoting to that the data engineer persona or role. So the content, again, is very tailored to what a typical data engineer might want to see right away. What this really does is really, bring together our documentation, which is often difficult to navigate, and kind of bring it together in one thread where you can kind of continue to ask questions that's really tailored to you.
Again, all about onboarding. So the engineer has a ton to do, but for the purposes of today, we're going to jump in our time machine, and we're going to say we've productionalized this, and now we're going to onboard ourselves as a business analyst.
So here we're going to use another very specific agent. We're going to call it sales and inventory. So what this particular agent does is has the context of a couple different tables within a database, just to kind of articulate what's in that database specifically for this prototype.
The importance to pause here on choosing an agent. Eventually, over time, that needs to be autonomous, right? But we're all about guiding users through change management. And we understand that people want to know the context. They want to have that transparency. They want to choose the agent, understand it more before they trust the results. So that dropdown is really about that really friendly guide to a more autonomous experience.
Yep, exactly. So in this case, we're going to say what products are at risk for out of stock. And again, we're expanding some of the prompt just to give it a little bit more context. So it gives, the response gives a little bit of reasoning, so justification in terms of like why Terry decided to go and pull this specific this data back. And in this case, also provides some SQL to go and open it up into a project, and then a little bit of insights around the prioritized list of 20 product within and store combinations within the highest risk for stock out. So Terry's actually saying, hey, based off of some of the data, we can actually produce a risk score, which is very interesting. So if we open this up into a project, once again, you can see the SQL that was in the chat lands into your project, and then you get a little bit of context around, Terry just is kind of like along for the ride for you. So if we run this SQL, you'll get a nice bar chart that you can come in here and do some pivots on. So in this case, we'll keep the SKU and then look at risk score. So I'm not sure if you caught it in here, but Terry also gave a little bit of a definition of what does risk mean. So in this case, anything over 1 is pretty high risk in terms of stock out.
And when the business analyst says, I don't agree with that risk definition, then they'll talk to Terry and redefine.
Exactly. Yeah.
So going back to the home, we're going to pivot to dive a little bit deeper into the use case that we covered in our keynote around inventory stock out risk.
Which is what we just showed. We just showed.
Yeah. We're going to actually talk about which products should go on promotion. So taking that next level business question and saying, okay, we are about to come into a sales cycle. Which products should be promoted more? While he's running that, I do want to kind of set the context of what this is. This is a rapid prototype that we built in less than a month. It's based on years of research on the jobs to be done and all of the industry data modeling that we've done over 20 years of expertise here at Teradata. It is using the Teradata community MCP server and our newly launched agent builder, which Josh mentioned. It has a lightweight Python backend connected to the same Teradata database to run SQL for more traditional workflows. You're looking at real world situation. This is anonymized demonstration data. So because it's demo data, the metadata behind it might be unreliable. The point of today is to kind of show you the direction that we're moving in. As we go into production, we'll be hardening these things. In our real world scenario, which we are launching the first version in January, it will be enterprise ready. Our agent selection tool, like we said, is there to create context, and we're intentionally limiting the scope of the agents for our purposes today, we will grow that agent context over time. And if you hadn't noticed, all of these disclaimers mean one thing. When we do a live demo, it might fail. In fact, we want it to so that we can get your feedback.
Yeah, so as you were talking, ran that question again through Terry, and actually was able just to pull it right into the same project. Renamed it, stockouts, some of the other areas within the project that it definitely has your traditional kind of object browser that we would expect. So you can search through the databases and tables. If I go actually into that particular table, sorry, typos. I can go in and into the table itself and quickly go into generate a select statement. Terry can also help you with that, of course, but just blending the kind of non-linear UX and linear UX is kind of what we're talking about there. Other areas around seeing important information about your environment, compute engine, and then some packages that are installed through the notebook itself. And then, of course, everybody wants to look at what queries they have run in the past, what failed. There's definitely some failed queries here, but generally speaking, certainly a part of the workflow. So that's a little bit of the project navigation.
All right, so we kind of covered onboarding for 3 personas and how we're envisioning the future of the UX, but there's something that we can't leave behind before we go into Q&A, and that is the importance of administration. One of the things that's always set our platform apart is that granular control around administration. In an enterprise where governance, in your enterprise's governance regulatory requirements, that you need to have that administrative expert, we're not leaving that behind. So we're going to pair the tradition of administration with our modern innovation. And did you already click into?
What's that?
The profile.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I did.
So again, role-based context and global identity. When a user, you can hover that.
Sorry.
That's okay. See, that's why we do these things live. When a user is both a data user and a DBA, which we do have a lot of customers that have that scenario, they can switch over to being a DBA right in the same interface. So let's click on over. You're there.
Yep, already there.
Yep.
The other thing that we put in here is, what if a customer doesn't really want the agentic first experience? Maybe there's some compliance or regulations within the organization, and so just being able to quickly, turn Terry off is certainly an option that we need to think about. When
we talk about agentic administration, we're talking about provisioning users, getting users into the system in an easy, seamless way. The ability to toggle between engines, our hybrid story, this is all going to be done through the user interface. That granular administration has always been our strength, and so combining it with global identity and this autonomous flexibility, we're moving into an era where you can ask Terry to set up your users. You can ask Terry to configure your environment, and that's the area we're going into. A couple other things, we want to show how to provision users. So let's go ahead and ask Terry to add a user.
I failed. I finally failed. We might not be able to show that today.
We'll walk you through. Again, this is why we do live demos. But you can literally say, I'd like to provision 10 people. Here are their names, email addresses, and I need them to be data users, data scientist or data engineer. And then Terry will process that through and configure the role. You found it.
I did find it.
Great. Okay.
So if you wanted to, just as an example, as a business analyst, maybe you don't want the business analyst to have insert privileges or creating a database or a table, for example. So you could ask Terry, I need a business analyst with only select statements. This is another agent, very dedicated agent to kind of help the DBA understand like all of the privileges and the roles, and then essentially be able to copy this out into the SQL editor and start creating your role right on the fly.
So blending that traditional kind of user management, this is about the customization. This doesn't take away the fact that we're deeply committed to default roles and getting your system set up much faster with what we know are the standard set of roles that you want for your company to be successful. So with that, if we could go back to the PowerPoint and just, I think, the last slide. There was Terry. Okay, so if you haven't already met us at the Expo booth, you can actually play with the prototype, see all the same failures that we saw today, maybe more successes.
Hopefully less.
Hopefully a lot more successes. So get your hands on the interface. It'll show your name, type your name in, sign up. It's a real prototype. So if you haven't gone to the UX booth, please do. We also have a developer experience booth where you can get a lot more about how we build things and the work behind that. So please definitely make your way over there. And with that, how do we do on time? Q&A. We've got time. Yeah.
All right.
Does Terry learn who I am personally from my peer data engineer? So when I go on, it knows the questions I ask and the things I work on as opposed to my peer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the intent behind it. We'll have a reasoning and memory agent behind it. I think where we're going to first in January is going to be about knowing your role. But yeah, over time, absolutely, it's going to need to learn who you are, what your intent is, what your context, what you have access to. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you, Jillian, for a great presentation.
Of course.
So my question is, so will this product replace anything that currently in your suite? And the second one is how and where it will be deployed?
Yeah, let's go back to the UI sprawl. So there's intent, and then it's going to take me a minute to go back, but intent, and then there's priority and focus, right? So we are focused on the data user experience first because we really don't have a home for that today. And so getting that out the door, it's going to have model ops, vector store, agent builder, marketplace. It's going to have all of native notebooks. What am I missing?
And, I mean, bringing in all of these apps,
yeah.
right?
Well, no, for January.
For
January, we're focused on the data user. What you're seeing here are all of the UIs, BCM, if you've got that, Viewpoint, if you've got that, Enterprise Console, all of our console stuff. It's all going over time into this. What we're going to do, what we have been doing, is working through the jobs to be done, prioritizing by the most important, valuable jobs to be done. We're also separating out the jobs to be done in two categories. One is going to be around value-added jobs, things that you need to do to be successful, your customer needs to do to be successful, and that's a really good use of their time. And then what we have are called forced jobs, things that we have kind of forced because of the way our tech stack is built. Those are prime for agent to agent autonomy and getting more agents built. So a lot of what you do in a lot of these UIs is going to be categorized into, is this an agent we could build, or does it actually need a more linear experience direct in the UI? So that's the goal. Yeah. Did I answer your question? You want to give him the mic. Sorry.
I think the question is where will it be deployed?
Where will it be deployed? Well, wherever the customer. So we are moving into a space of build once, deploy anywhere. So if you're on-prem, if you're on AWS, if you're on GCP, if you're on Azure, we're going to meet you where you're at. That's a great question. We are committed to data sovereignty and being in your region. So it depends on your deployment, on where, geographically, that's what you're talking about. Yep, we'll package it into a VM, the first one. Yep, good question. Just to repeat that question, he asked, does the customer have to provide their own server? And we're going to package the first version in a VM.
Yeah. Are you planning to have an integration with GitHub Copilot or stuff like that with GitHub for the code to go directly and be safe?
Yeah, we're definitely in conversation with integration. One of the things we didn't really show, but you can, if you go to the booth, you can kind of play around with, is the app marketplace. Yeah. So we are, like I said, we're really committed to an ecosystem and making sure that we show up where you need us and we can connect into those broader ecosystems. This is, right now, what we're focused on is giving the product a home. Yeah. Great question.
Anybody else?
Hey, I think we might have talked about this last night, but a few of my customers have, they have their one experience when it comes to LLMs, and they host LLMs and choose, certain large language models underneath. So I'm kind of wondering, how would Terry fit in there? Could Terry kind of have an agent-to-agent protocol where we could integrate with their existing LLM?
Yeah, I mean, the quick answer is yes. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point of having that drop down of agents. The idea of bring your own agent, strong. Yeah, I don't think we're not boxing the users in with our agents for sure.
And we'd love to work with some of those customers too.
100%.
That,
Let's
are
build it
looking
together.
to do that.
Yeah. We're making Matthew work for it today.
Will documentation be part of what Terry has access to? So I can just ask it for...
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And what about support cases and things? Will I have access to be able to say, oh, hey, I'm running into this issue?
Yeah.
Will it be able to access knowledge documents?
Yep, there's two answers to that. One in January, not quite yet, but as we phase in, yes, absolutely. It's all about one Teradata.
I mean, you saw we were pretty hyper-focused on the onboarding, right? And
we're really hyper-focused on onboarding.
That's all documentation as far as I'm concerned.
And one more, can I just give Terry a query and ask it for suggestions on optimizing it or changing it? Or can I just tell it, hey, add a rank for this column to it? Or do I have to type that in manually?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's very good feedback, and we're certainly talking about that.
Yeah.
Optimization is key.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Oh, I see another hand.
Since we're not over yet
in
time, obviously this needs additional data other than just the traditional database metadata. Help me to understand what additional data components, would it be part of a Teradata database? Will it be just additional tables in there? Yeah. What data is Terry going to require?
Yeah, so it does connect into your Teradata, the customer's database, right? When Samit talked about the knowledge platform, industry data models today, it's all going to come through the same. This is the home of the product. So when you hear compute engine, you hear industry data models, you hear knowledge platform, how the user gets access to all of that is through this everything. I think we did 4 demos total of Terry. The 2 demos that you saw that weren't Terry is because they're in production today. We wanted to show you what's available today. But the goal, AI Workbench, Vector Store, all of our feature functionality is all going to be accessed through this one single entry point. So yeah.
So one more thing, is it does it just connect to one database, or if the customer has more than one instance of Teradata, how does it know which one to connect to?
Yeah. Do you have the site switcher?
Yeah. So this is the site switch. Well, you can't see it, but.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Sorry. I forget.
That's how close it is.
Can you flip back over to the prototype? Thank you.
And you'll get to see that the apps a little bit here too.
Oh yeah, we can go into apps since we've got time. So yes, the intent is the ability to context switch across engines and across deployments. Obviously from cloud to on-prem, we're still working through how that's going to look and feel and what's the architecture there. But cloud engine to cloud engine, that is our goal, to have an engine switcher. That's what I lovingly call it. I'm sure that product marketing will come up with a better name for it. Yeah.
What about sensitivity of the data? Is there a way to classify the data by columns or tables?
Yeah, so this is, it's really, I mean, what's a quick answer to that? This is all about having that security and context awareness. So however you've identified the security of your data, the system is going to respond to that. In terms of having that ability, that's one of the jobs to be done that we're evaluating on how can you actually set those in the system, and is that a value add for a UI, or is it more something that you would do with SQL or through some of the data exploration?
It's one of the reasons why like the global identity, as Jillian kind of mentioned it, is super important.
Yeah.
I mean, integrated it with your IDP. That integration hopefully provides enough, roles, permissions, context of what the user actually has access to. So it's not something that we would necessarily, built in, but in terms of integration, that's how we see it. Does that make sense?
It's obviously super.
It's
super
not.
important.
It's,
We
I
honor the
oversimplified
security.
it for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, It's super important we honor the security standards, but I think in terms of data classification, let's talk more on what your use case would be. I'd love to hear more.
No, my question was like more, I feel that we will have to keep saving the classification of data and stewardship and all the governance metadata separate, right?
Yeah,
It's not too integrated into this platform. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Who's bringing them?
Huh?
So like your first query there would have failed for most of our users because they don't have access to databases.
Can you start all the way over?
Yeah, so using VX views. So your first query up there said select star from database. Well, they don't have access to that. They have database VX.
Yeah.
Is there like a switch that says, hey, use this, and then base what the results are based on what they do have access to? Because using the VX views, it hides things they don't have access to.
Right.
Sure.
So they don't get like, what's all this stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
From a prototype perspective, that doesn't, we didn't build that into the prototype, but absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good call.
All right.
Last call.
Last call.
No questions on bringing SQL Assistant back, so.
Thanks, Matthew. No.
You must have done a good job. All right.
We almost escaped.
We almost escaped.
All right.
Maybe there's a little nod in there of what we're trying to do with SQL, huh?
All right.
Hint,
Well,
hint.
thanks everybody for coming. I believe lunch starts in about 15 minutes, 12:30. We'll be back in this room at 2 o'clock. HCA Healthcare is going to be presenting. It's a better together story of how they are integrating Teradata and BigQuery, sharing data between both in GCP. So we'll see you back here at 2 o'clock. One big round of applause for Jillian and for Joshua.
Thank you.